Welcome, everybody. This is a meditative drawing session with Jean Kropper, and we're going to be doing Astral Garden today. That's the theme. So about growing things and seeing new opportunities and developing new things in our lives. Okay, we're going to do two drawings today. The first one's very short, just a couple minutes, and that's combined with breath work. And then we'll go into our longer drawing. Okay, let's see. I will just put on the video. So we've got some share screen so you can see that. But I'm glad that everyone is here. Thank you for coming. Okay, share screen. And it's going to be that one. Okay, good. Back to the beginning. And let's get started. Okay, terrific. Okay, first I'll show you some, these are some examples of meditative drawing. So quite a variety. A mix of things. And meditative drawing is the process of drawing shapes, dots, or lines over and over to create a pattern. And it gives your brain something to do, and so that it slows your brain down and quiets a busy mind. So it's a very simple process, but also quite sophisticated in that it helps lower your cortisol levels, lowers anxiety levels, and allows you to just slow down for a little while. Okay, now I'm curious if people have received the worksheet. Let's see, and actually you don't need it for this part, so we'll just go on from here. This is what we'll be drawing, and we'll be combining it with a breathwork exercise, and I'll just explain that and you can dive in when you're ready. Okay. So at this point, you need one marker, any color, doesn't matter, and a blank piece of paper. And I am getting set up as well, so I will do this as well. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're going to be doing what's called square breathing, and that's where you're breathing in to the count of 3, hold your breath for the count of 3, breathe out for the count of 3, hold your breath for the count of 3, and it just goes around in a circle. Actually, I'll just go back to that for a moment. There we go. There. It's called square breathing. You can look it up on YouTube and see more about it, but it's basically a breathwork process that helps slow down the brain. And very easy. It's a really simple thing, but I'm combining that with drawing, which helps engage your brain, not just the body, and helps slow down a busy mind. And I find it a really useful process. Sometimes I do it late at night if I'm trying to go to sleep and I realize my brain's just going crazy with thoughts of the day. I'll sit up, take a little while and do the exercise, or other times where you've been doing one task, you need to change onto something else, but your brain is just full of thoughts. This is a really useful process to quiet the brain so that you can focus on the next thing that you need to do. Okay, so again, breathing in for the count of 3, hold the breath for a count of 3, breathe out for the count of 3, hold the breath for a count of 3. And it's called square breathing because you go around in a square. Okay. So that's the shape we'll be drawing, and we'll be breathing in when you're drawing up, holding the breath at the top, breathing out when you're drawing down, and holding the breath at the bottom. So I'll just demonstrate that for you, and you can join in when you're ready. And if at any time you're uncomfortable, just go back to your regular breathing. And you can draw this small or large, whatever feels comfortable for you. And it doesn't have to be neat because this is just for you. It's just the process that helps quiet down the brain. So really simple thing, one marker. Okay. And you can do this very small, you can do it large, whatever works for you. So breathing in and hold the breath, and breathing out and hold the breath. And breathing in. Hold the breath. And breathing out. Hold the breath. Breathing in. Hold. 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 In. Out. Breathing in. Excuse me. Breathing out. Breathing in. Hold. Breathing in. Hold. And breathing out. Hold. In. Hold. Just a few more. Out. Hold. And then let your breathing just go back to normal. And just check in with yourself and see how your brain's going. If your mind's full of busy thoughts, you're a bit quieter. And if your emotions are a bit quieter than they were sometimes. I'll do this after a discussion or disagreement or stressful event and just quiet down. So it's very useful. Okay, this is what we're drawing today. So it's good to pick just a few colored markers. You don't want a lot because while you're drawing, you want to keep your decisions to a minimum so your brain doesn't have to work very hard. So here I've used black and purple and pink and orange. Black, purple, pink, and orange. Four colors. So yeah, just pick 4 colors and that makes the drawing more cohesive and also just quiets the brain down because you don't have a lot of choices going on at the same time. So yeah, just make your decision of whatever you've got. And if you've only got 1 marker and 1 color, then that's just fine. Absolutely fine. It just makes your choices much easier. Okay, we will go from there. And you can follow exactly what I'm doing during the video. And you can also make it up and do your own version of this. So you don't need to do exactly what I'm doing. So let's go to and have artists joining in and they'll use what I'm doing as inspiration and go off in their own direction, and that's just fine, just fine. And on your worksheet, there's some reference material for this. And so sometimes some people don't want to be watching a video the whole time. You can just refer to your worksheets and go from there. So you can see there's a bunch of different styles of flowers that you can draw, and you can absolutely make up your own. These are a guide, and if you're not experienced in the art sort of area, you can copy exactly what I'm doing and just go along with what the video is showing, and that's fine too. Okay, so really fairly step by step, we'll just work our way through this. Okay, If you like, you can print out the last page of the worksheet and draw in on that. If you don't have a printer or don't want to do that, that's fine. I'm just drawing some fine guidelines and pencils to begin. And so I just sort of place things on the page, and then when I'm drawing, I don't have to worry about, oh, is this going to fit and where is that going to go? It all just sort of falls into place. So you can, again, do what I'm doing, or you can ignore that and have your own version of this. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing is drawing the guidelines, and I'm just going to colors that I'm going to use today. And I've got my worksheet right nearby so that I can choices as well. Sometimes I like changing my colors. Yeah. All right. So you can just fiddle with your guidelines. And really, this is an exercise. It doesn't have to be right. There isn't really a right. So please relax and enjoy this. It's about the process more than the end result. You might like what you do at the end, might not. It really doesn't matter. If you don't like what you're doing, you can chuck it out at the end. But the process is what quiets down the brain. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm just making my final decisions here. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just choosing colors. And it really is good just to choose a few colors and to stick to that. Okay. All right. I think I'm just like everybody else, but I'm always tempted to use lots of colors. And it's like, no, just slow down and just make some decisions here. Okay. All right. Okay, and there's different kinds of markers you can use. These micron pens are a bit fancier, but you can get them from an art shop. Those you have to hold at 90 degrees to the page, so sticking straight up. The others, the white markers there are just from a stationery store or office supply store. So those are readily available. And then there's some other pens. This Faber-Castells are also quite nice. And yeah, so those are all water-based markers, all of those. But it really doesn't matter what you work with, it's just up to you. And then Sharpies, both fine and medium point, are solvent-based. You can smell them. They tend to bleed through a page, but they also don't smudge. So there's sort of good and bad things there. Some people don't like the smell. Some people don't care. Some people tend to smudge their markers and some people don't. So over time, if you choose to make this a practice that you do more often, you get to choose different markers and just sort of see what you like to work with most. So that's all up to you. Okay, let's begin. So just draw a curve for your shape of your ground. And you can move your page at any time. So here I've got it upside down just because it seems easier to draw the lines across the page so I can rest on the page. I've got room to work. So just go over your guidelines. And I find when my brain is quiet, it's really easy to draw smooth curves and smooth lines. When my brain is really busy, it's not. And I find it very hard. And that's just fine. That's really normal. And it's just a nice way of checking in and saying, right, okay, so actually I'm really preoccupied today. I've got a lot going on in my head. I hadn't quite thought about that. And just let that be. All of this drawing that we do today, it's just for you and it's a process. So if you're not really happy with what you're doing at the end of the day, you can just chuck it out and that's absolutely fine. Sometimes you like what you do and you might keep it or share it with other people, but you don't have to do that at all. So let that be open-ended. Don't put pressure on yourself to do anything. You don't want to have to make beautiful artworks. Sometimes it's really nice to just play. Okay. All right. So just starting in one of the flowers. And you can see the example of the flower on the top left. And I'm just copying the format of that. So just some circles in the middle and some lines out to the side. Just take your time. This is about slowing down. Okay. Just working away in purple and then in pink. And again, you can do things just the same way I do. You can make up your own version. It really doesn't matter. That's entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong in this. And just notice your breath. Sometimes when we're stressed, we tend to breathe quite shallowly. So just notice how you're breathing. And once in a while, you might just take a deep breath. Yes, if no one's around, you can give a big, loud sigh. And remember, just release some tension. Good. And we're just going to hang out together and do some drawing. This is not anything pressured. And if you think you're terrible at drawing, well, just enjoy being terrible at drawing. And that's fine. It's not anything that you need to be good at here. We're just fiddling around and doing an exercise that helps quiet the brain down. Gives your brain a break from the craziness and busyness of the world. Yeah, and then I'm just going to draw a line around the flower to give it a shape. And you can do that, or you can not do that, and you can leave it as it was. Yeah, so you can vary them as you like. You can do them the same, you can play with that. The goal of the worksheet is so that you don't have to think up something and that you can just go along with drawing. And let your brain slow down. Okay, let's start on another flower. A lot of little circles, just joining up the edges of the circle. Circle, circle, circle. And you're welcome to do all of this in black and white. That's just fine too. So and I made this, called it Astral Garden, so that nobody felt pressure to be realistic. So that we're doing something that could be space age, or just, it doesn't have to match any real flowers. You can relax and just do the drawing without any pressure there. Just take some deep breaths. And we can just draw along together. Just going to grab an eraser. Yeah, good. And just plod along doing the circles, the lines. Erasing my guidelines before I draw a marker over them. Good. Drawing together can be a nice way just to hang out with some people from all over the world. I've had students from rural South Africa, Israel, France, UK, across the United States and Australia. And people from Western Australia, Victoria, Queensland. That's rather the magic side of being able to work online. Different joys from teaching face to face. I'm just focusing on the lines, making the lines, and what the pressure is of my marker on the page, what that feels like to make a mark. If I press lighter, does it make a thinner line? Just to notice those things, just to feel that. There's nothing right or wrong about it, but just to notice. I particularly like bullet point markers that you can hold at any angle to the page and they still make a mark. Some markers you need to hold at a right angle on. You have to concentrate a bit more to do that. Just working away slowly. Different flowers. Just drawing some circles now. Circle around the outside. Have a bit of fun with it. Often we don't take time for ourselves to just play and do something. It doesn't have a particular goal. It's important to take some time out. I know in my family we didn't really play much, so it's a good thing to remember to do that as an adult. Take time out. And just to remind you, you're welcome to draw the same thing that I'm doing, and you're also welcome to make up your own variation. So that's absolutely fine. What you do really does not have to look like this. It's actually kind of fun to see all the different variations that people choose to make from the inspiration that we're starting with. So just feel what it is like to make marks on the page. And try to keep your attention with what you're doing. Just look at the point of the marker on the page, making that mark. This keeps your brain focused in the present so that other things just drift away. And if while you're working something important comes up, you remember something that you need to do, see if you could just write it down or make a note of it and come back to what you're doing. And just let it go for now because it will still be there, waiting to be done at the end. But this is time just for you. And just enjoy the different colors, how they're mixing on the page, and how your lines are. Just notice, is it any easier to draw lines than it was when you started? I find as my brain quiets down, I find it easier to draw, easier to make nice curves or straight lines. When I'm distracted, I find it very surprisingly difficult to just do basic drawing. Yeah, so just follow along with what we're doing here. And everyone's will be a little different, which is rather nice. Okay, just starting on the leaves. Some sinuous curves through the middle of the leaves. And I can send you a link to the recording of this so that you can redo this, or if you haven't finished and you want to watch more of the video, that you can do that too. This isn't about putting what you're doing into a time frame. It's just taking your time to slow down and enjoy some drawing. just remember to do some breathing deeper than usual. Yeah, just fill in those leads. I'm just drawing some curves here with dots on them. It like makes me think of water, with these sort of little pom-poms of pollen. You might be drawing along right with me, or you might be doing your own variation, and that's fine. You can be working on different things. The video is just a guide, so that you've got something to go with. Some curves of some stems. Each, there aren't many straight lines. You can also notice if you've got brain chatter, how do you talk to yourself? Are you kind to yourself, or are you often berating yourself for things you haven't done? So it's important that we are kind to ourselves. Yeah. Okay, so pictures slowly coming together. And put some little sprouts just in between the other flowers. Little curves. Yeah. Just add some little things that are growing. Just starting to sprout. It's kind of fun. And you can always look back at your worksheet and just look at some of the things that are there. And use those as ideas or copy what's there as you like. I redo and redraw each of these sessions, and I find I sort of dive into different possibilities. And first I sort of think I'd get bored at it, but then it was actually reassuring, or there's something very nice about it, because every time it was a bit the same, but every time it was a bit different. And I find I develop my drawing skills in particular areas and get practice making certain kinds of marks. And I found that, yeah, actually more satisfying than I thought I might at first. And then, yeah, I found it quite addictive. it's been rather fun to just play with certain kinds of marks and explore what I can do with them, and not get complicated. And been to art school, and I've got a degree in fine art, got a degree in or diploma in graphic design, but I also find it very satisfying to slow down and just work with a small group of choices. Small, and really the definition of creativity is doing all sorts of interesting things with limited choices. Because if you've got choices of anything, then you're really not being creative, because what's possible is unlimited. But real creativity comes when you've got limited choices and you need to work with that. And then you start diving in and finding all the different possibilities that you can do with that. So when I redraw the same sort of image, I start playing with marks in different ways, making subtle variations in the shapes and the kinds of lines, and lay it out slightly different on the page. And I'm finding that it's given me a new language of choices that I can work with. But since we have screens that are always active, it's very easy for us to get bored and think we always have to do something. While 15 years ago, if we were sitting on a bus, we'd stare out the window and let our brains quiet down. Or we'd sit with a cup of tea and not look at a phone or anything, but just let our brains quiet down. And so I guess this serves a bit of the same purpose, where we slow down and choose that, and let the brain just have some time off. Okay, I'm starting to play with zigzag lines on the ground. And this takes quite a bit of concentration, actually, this particular kinds of marks, the zigzags, because you're going between two lines. But it's rather a useful way to have your mind quiet down. Just shut up, brain. I'm trying to relax here and just focus on zigzags between the lines of the ground that you've drawn. And you can vary what you're doing, so you can do really tight zigzags, very narrow. And then you can make wider zigzags. And gradually you create a pattern. And I find the meditative drawing very satisfying, because it's something sort of inevitable about slowly working around the page and building up pattern bit by bit. And then you make certain kinds of marks and certain kinds of marks and certain kinds of marks. And gradually it builds up, and you've got a whole section of pattern. And there's something very, very pleasing, very reassuring about that. Yeah, so it's coming together. So just keep your focus on your marker on the page and making simple marks. Bit by bit. It's just thinking about the noises that markers make when you pull the caps on and off. I guess in a noisy, busy day, I don't tend to notice those things, but slowing down gives me a chance to notice. Again, I'm making marks on the ground between the two lines. Yeah, I'm going to use the purple and the black on the bottom for the ground, just to make it a bit different from the flowers. Just making marks, drawing lines. Let the brain slow down, just making marks. And each session I do of meditative drawing, we have different topics or different visual ideas to play with and different kinds of marks. So over time, you build up all sorts of drawing skills, just quietly, bit by bit, that you can use in different ways. Oh, and you can see I've got a little scrap of paper there that I'm resting my hand on. Sometimes I use that to stop myself from smudging drawing that I've done before. It's not necessary, but you can use it if you find that whatever markers you're working with smudge sometimes. It's up to you. And over time, you get to know your markers and get very familiar with how they work. And I like working with some that are fine and some that are medium point, and just having different widths, different colors, and different qualities to the markers. It's just satisfying to work that way. Yeah, I just wanted to put a circle around that flower. It just seemed like it needed a bit more definition. And if I do one of these drawings and I don't like it, I can just throw it away. Sometimes I'll use it for reference and do another session for exactly the same topic and just redraw it a little bit differently. So draw again the bits that I like and skip the bits that I didn't like and change them. So drawing isn't something that you have to get right the first time. And you don't have to get it right at all. You can just throw out drawings. Sometimes I've had a pad of paper and done a whole bunch of drawings just to get out emotions, because it can be a really healthy way to discharge emotions. You can make angry marks, whatever that is to you. You can press hard on the page, scrabble all over it, and it's a lot cheaper than therapy, and you can have a bit of fun with it. And if you're using pretty colors, you might end up with something that you like and surprise yourself. But, yeah, this can be just a process. It doesn't have to be an end result. Yeah, and I'm just looking back at the different flowers for reference. You've got the worksheet that you can refer to, and you can pick one of the other flowers that you want to do next. You don't have to use them all. You can just put in what ones you want to use. It's entirely up to you. And over time, when you do different sorts of drawings like this, you sort of have a palette of marks that you can work with, and you'll find that there's some kinds of marks that you like making and some kind of marks that you don't particularly like making, and that's absolutely fine. That's really normal. And that's how people sort of develop their own style. And some things seem symbolic to you of different things, and that you want to work with them more, and other things you don't, and that's normal. Yeah, so I'm just diving in on this black and white flower with the petals, so teardrop shaped petals. Yeah, so you can just see where you want to place the flowers on the page, how you want them to look. And you can just draw along with me. A little companionship here, and we all work together. And starting another flower, I'm going to do this one in color this time. I don't know if that's a good decision or not, if I should make them both the same or not, but it doesn't really matter. It's just playing with the drawing. I like the teardrop shape of these petals. There's something quite lyrical about that. So the picture is coming together, probably about 3/4 done. But remember, you can take time to finish this after the video, after our time together. And you can also redraw it, and you can also just throw it out. Doesn't matter, any of those things are up to you. This is about taking some time out to slow down. Okay, let's see. Just keeping my focus with these petals, drawing and coloring them in. I've had people join on sessions who are going through cancer treatment and having to make all sorts of really important decisions. And they were saying that they found it's useful just to take some time out where they didn't concentrate on anything important or anything serious. They could just slow down. So again, just notice your markers and what it's like to make a mark on the page and how the ink bleeds or doesn't bleed. Or how much pressure you put on the marker to make that mark. And if you press lighter, do you get a thinner line? Just to notice all those little details that we don't usually pay attention to. Yeah, and I'm just sort of looking over the whole drawing and seeing where there are spaces and where I might add things. And those spaces will probably be different for your drawing, and that's just fine. You can add in an extra flower or a bud or curlicue to make the picture work the way you want it to. And this one, I'm just doing another black flower that sort of balances out the other one. That's the other side of the page. And just stay with the process for a few more minutes. And give your time yourself, this time to yourself to just slow down. Drawing is rather a lovely way to hang out with people from around the world. We're all working quietly at our own desks and dining room tables and little back rooms and kitchen counters, and all just sharing this time together. There's something rather lovely about that to me. It's rather a lovely way to just be with some other people. And also when I'm doing workshops or I have people with cameras off, sometimes you don't want to have to think about how you look. And that's fine. Sometimes I ask people to turn the cameras on at the beginning just so we all know we're here and we can just say hello as human beings and acknowledge each other and we're choosing this time together. Now I'm just touching up some of the flowers so that they've got a bit of different colors in each of them. So seeing what might make them look best. Adding a bit of orange. Yeah, it's coming together. That's coming together. Okay, yeah. Another bud there, another bit of this there. Lovely. And if you choose to share your work, it's kind of fun just to see what other people have been doing and where each of you took the inspiration for this. It's not about judging. It's just about sharing and seeing what direction you took the drawing. It's kind of fun. I had a friend of mine who was a printer, never did any art workshops, but he came along with his wife, and he did some lovely drawing. I think he quite surprised himself. It's rather nice just to see people knowing that you can have a go at art. It doesn't have to be your thing, and you can just play around with it. Yeah, just adding another leaf in a space that looked like it needed something. Yeah, I'm just adding a touch of color where some gaps are. Just adding some stripes of color to the leaves. Yeah, so put a bit of orange in different places, just add a bit of a lift, I guess. Sometimes I find I finish quickly, and sometimes it takes me longer. So you may be zooming along today, or you might be just going slowly and not have as many flowers done at this point. That's just fine. It's also an interesting barometer to just sort of notice what's going on for you. Sometimes I think I'm relaxed and I start trying to draw and I find it hard to concentrate. Then I realize that I've got all sorts of busy thoughts charging along in my head. And it gives me a chance to just notice that and slow down a little. Yeah, just adding a bit of black, a bit of strength to the drawing. Contrast, I guess. There's that noise again of the marker lids. Funny things that you can take joy in when you slow down. Okay, we're almost there. So you can just look at yours and see if there's any gaps you want to fill in. Not that you have to, but just choices. And yeah, I think that's about done. So I've got a mix of the 4 colors: purple, orange, pink, and black. And you can add colors any places you like. And yeah, and to remember, you can turn this upside down or right any way you like, sideways, to fill in bits. Here I'm just doing some lines along the bottom to do a bit more ground. So you can just look over your drawing and see if there's any other bits that you want to fill in. And also when we're drawing together, if you work really quickly or you just want to go on to something else, then you can use these marks and start a second drawing and do something a bit different. That's absolutely fine. That's really up to you. These are kind of coming together. Yeah, so you can see the different kinds of marks inside the leaves there. And yeah, you can play with that. If you've ever cut a stem, a plant stem in half, you can see those little segments and different ways of making flowers. Yeah, and you can make them smaller or bigger, any of those. And sometimes I draw them one way with a fatter mark or a thinner mark, and they look a bit different. They seem like they need 2 lines around the outside or no lines around the outside. So that's up to you to make those choices. Good, good. I'm curious what each of you do as well. It's really fun to see at the end and see what sorts of different things everyone's done. Meditative drawing has built up my drawing skills in lots of areas. And I originally started doing it because I hadn't done any drawing for a long time. And having had a background as an artist, I felt like I had to draw right and get things accurate and portray still lifes or anything that was real. And this was a way of just playing with drawing skills in a different way without a specific need to be realistic, and to just enjoy making marks and enjoy the tools. So enjoy working with a marker and seeing what it does on a page and how you can mix the colors and what kinds of lines you can make. Yeah, wiggly lines and straight lines, strong geometries, triangles and squares and circles, or just wiggly shapes, organic shapes, and just playing with that. And it slowly, yeah, developed my skills. And I actually haven't gone back to doing realistic drawing at the moment. I'm just gotten quite captivated by making marks. And yeah, I really love the way it quiets my brain down and way I can let go of a bad mood. And I had one of my students call me and said that she'd had an argument on the phone with somebody, and they were trying to arrange something. It was a bit difficult. And she's an artist. She does all sorts of artwork, and she was like, "Oh, meditating drawing's a bit simple." But she sat down and started just doing some drawing, some really simple meditative drawing. And she realized that 15 minutes later, she wasn't angry and she wasn't anxious about the phone call, and that she just let that go. And she said, I guess that's what it's for. And I thought, yeah, that it's just a process that you can use to quiet a busy brain and give yourself some time to recharge and integrate, and then go back to the busy world with a bit more attention, a bit more focus. Yeah, my picture's coming together. Probably had a bit too much ground in this. I think I should have drawn the line from the ground a bit lower, but that doesn't really matter. just doing things differently each time. Yeah, just making some thicker lines on the ground so that it's clear that that's an anchor point. Yeah, we are coming to the end here, just emphasizing some of the lines that are horizontal there. Okay, we're going to finish up in the next couple minutes, so just finish whatever you want to finish. And then we'll come back together again. Excuse me. I just need some water. That's better. That's better. Yep, I'm just going over some of the stems. Yeah, that's really, yeah, that's kind of come together. So what you can do with some markers and some paper. And just take a few deep breaths and let go. And celebrate what you've made and the process, and that you've stayed with it. And just have a look over your drawing and see what parts of it you enjoy, what parts of it you like. I might put some more of the little sprouts down on the left. But it's basically done. And had a good session. I was kind of stressed and had a really busy brain before, and it slowed me down. And I feel a lot calmer and probably actually a lot more able to concentrate at the end of the session, which is kind of the whole point. So yeah, you can put something into those spaces or not, that doesn't matter. I might just move along. Go along to the end here. Yeah. So the finished piece. So there's all sorts of little details. And you can use any of those sorts of details in your pictures that you make. You can redraw and make your own version of an astral garden and draw variations of each of these. You see the one on the left we didn't even use, but all those are possibilities. That one's there. Yeah, you can see that. And just vary the colors and the lines. And that's another shape that came from that, but it's a bit different. So you'll each draw things a bit different and a bit the same, which is kind of fun. Yeah, I think it does need a line around the outside. Stronger edge to what's going on there. And I'm just using a marker there that does need to be held at the right angle to the page. On the leaves, There's lots of different ways of making leaves, and you can find what works for you. And the sprays, new flowers. See what works for you. Some places I still have the pencil lines, and after I'll let this dry for another 10 minutes or so, and then I'll go through and just erase the pencil lines so that they're gone from there. You can see some of them. Yeah, so I've just, and also I often use flowers at different stages, like this bud and open flowers. And here, this is just the texture I put in the ground. Lots of different things you can do with really simple lines. So we've just got straight lines there and zigzag lines there, and just drawing pattern. It's a really good way to just quiet the brain down. But it's rather pleasing to build it up and see the finished result. And all of those leaves, pink and orange and black and white, and yeah, all the little segments. So here we go. You'll have your own astral garden, your own variation of this, which is great. It's really lovely. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oops. I won't do that. One. Hang on. Let's see. No. Students often email me work that they've done, different artworks, and it's really lovely to see what different people do with the same inspiration. People take it in all different directions, which is just wonderful. Yeah, so please, I love to see what you make. It's not about judging. Yeah, this is from Catherine. Oops, no, I want to go back. I do want to have a look at that. Yeah, yep, no. It's determined not to. But yeah, different people have sent in their variations of, and it's really nice just to see what variations you make. It's lovely to see what people do with the. Yep, so this is Catherine's, and all sorts of things. And this one I did was I put Post-it notes down to create a grid, and then I picked each one up individually and drew underneath. And then I picked another one up and drew underneath. And this is another variation. It's called Circuit. So lots of different sorts of drawing, weaving, many different things that I cover in different sessions of this. Just slowly build up some drawing skills, some ideas, a bit of creativity, and just a really good way to quiet the brain down. These are some of the markers. Yep. And there's the picture that we made today. So I hope you've enjoyed yourself, and I hope the process is useful to you, and that it's something that you can use in your own life. And so, yeah, we'll let go of that, and we'll stop sharing. Yeah, so I'd just like to thank you for coming, and I hope you found the process enjoyable or useful. And yeah, it's just a really good way of quieting down the brain, reducing stress, anxiety. And I find that as I use it as a practice and do it every couple of days, and sometimes it might be just for 20 minutes, sometimes for an hour session, it just helps me slow down and quiet a busy brain and give myself time to recharge and I suppose integrate the things that are going on during the day. And yeah, it makes it easier for me to sleep, and I hope it's a useful process to you too. So thank you very much for taking part.